Okay, hello everybody. You want to put where you're from in the chat. I'd love to see that. And then we'll get started here in a couple minutes. Can everybody see my screen? If you want to drop in where you're from, as we wait for people to come in. Okay, chat. Somebody said chat is disabled. Not sure if it's just me. So Ronnie, maybe we check on that. Thank you, Milena. It's a beautiful name. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Rebecca. If chat ends up being disabled throughout this whole thing, feel free. I have the Q&A open as well. And I'll continue to look at that. We'll just give a couple more minutes for a few more people to pop in. Welcome to everybody coming on in. Hope you're having a good week. Thank God it's midweek, it's Wednesday. Okay, hopefully we can get that chat going so that you guys can interact a little bit more. And we'll get started here in just a minute. Let's see. All right. It's just about 3 after, so I'm not going to waste y'all's time. I'm going to get started. So today we're going to be talking about pre-workout nutrition for optimal performance. Yep. Okay, there we go. My name is Petra. I am a performance sports dietitian. I currently work at Northwestern University with Levy Restaurants. So my main sports currently are men's and women's soccer, women's basketball, and then I oversee our entire athletic training table. So I get to work with all the food, be in the kitchen, do some demos, do all that fun stuff. So I did my undergrad and my master's at Texas Christian University, Go Frogs, and I obviously volunteered and worked with them for quite a while. I also have my own LLC, Patia's Eats RD, and I have some other experience like with the Green Bay Packers, Go Pack. I'm from Wisconsin, and the United States Olympic Committee. Just getting all the experience I can for these athletes. All right. So this is what we are learning today. So why pre-workout, or what I like to say pre-fuel, is important to maximize your workout. What types of foods to choose to fuel your workout. The appropriate timing, which is one of the main keys. Which foods to avoid. A lot of people don't recognize that there are certain foods you want to avoid. And then also hydration. How much and which fluids should you be drinking before your workout? And feel free throughout this presentation to drop questions and in the Q&A or comments, and I will pay attention to that. Okay, so let's get started. So which type of athlete are you? or is your son or daughter or your athletes. So the bell just rang and school is out. Practice is about 2 hours away. And we're going to go eat with the team somewhere out, and we'll return in an hour. So we got one. I'm going to get 2 double cheeseburgers, large fries, and a large Coke. Yes. Or option 2, 2 turkey sandwiches, fruit, and a water/sports drink from home. Can anybody guess which one is a little bit more optimal than the other? And this is probably where chat would be great. But anyways, I'm just going to give it away. Obviously, it's option 2. There are many other options you can go with, and there's many different tweaks to do this pre-workout, but we'll go over that in the coming slides. So why is it so important? I get my athletes all the time. They're coming, oh, well, it's too early in the morning. I don't want to eat anything. Or I feel too heavy when I eat before I train. Well, it's important because it provides fuel and energy to the working muscles and body's energy systems. So it also increases the effectiveness of the workout or game. I like to use the analogy like, okay, we're going on a road trip and we better fill up with gas or some fuel, because if we don't, you're not going anywhere, or you're not going to go make it that far. Same with an athlete. If you fuel like you're going to play or you're going to perform in practice, you're going to increase the effectiveness of the workout. So you're going to get more out of that workout. If your body has nothing to work off of or work with, basically, I like to say your workout is kind of a waste, because what are you going to do when your body doesn't have any, carbohydrates to fuel the rebuild of that protein or of that muscle? And all of those things, it's a lot of, you have to think about putting the fuel in so that you can have the energy to compete well, and to train so that then in practice translates to in the game. And then, you're fueled. And then we'll go on. It helps maintain blood sugar, glycogen levels. So glycogen being your sugar or carb energy stores in your body, and electrolytes, which is going to reduce quote unquote bonking, and physical or mental fatigue. All right. So what would be an optimal pre-workout food? So first and foremost, carbohydrates. That is our main fuel. It's the body's main fuel source, as well as your brain will only take carbohydrates as fuel, or quote unquote glucose. That is the simple form of carbohydrates. So during high intensity practices, games, our bodies need those carbohydrates somewhere to maintain the energy levels. And that's why we want to pack those glycogen stores with carbohydrates, so that you have that there for your muscles to pull from to make those explosive movements. So this kind of looks like carbs should be consumed, 1 gram per kilogram body weight an hour before training, 2 grams per kilogram body weight 2 hours before exercise. I like to say, don't worry about those numbers. If you work with a dietitian, they'll translate it into what that looks like food wise. I don't like my athletes focusing on numbers, but if they have somebody that can help them with that, like my sports RD, it makes it much more easier. So for example, I have a 135-pound women's soccer player. That translates to roughly an hour before she's going to have 61, 63 grams of carbohydrates. Okay. Yeah, we get the numbers. But what does that look like? 1 20-ounce Gatorade with a small bag of pretzels and a little cutie orange. That gets her quality carbs, a little bit of salt from the pretzels, electrolytes from the Gatorade, and fluid in general, which that's the main keys, carbs and fluid before working out. Okay. So high quality carbs are very helpful when it comes to digestion and energy. So you want to choose the easier to digest carbs, such as simple carbs that are quick absorbing. So, your mom and all health related individuals will say, oh, whole grain, whole grain, whole grain. Yes, outside of pre-fuel, we do want whole grain because they have the extra nutrients and fiber and such. But this is where a lot of the trendy nutrition it kind of is in contrast of an athlete's nutrition, because you actually want like the simpler grains, the white grains, fruit, simple sugars that they're going to be able to digest quickly. So it's not sitting on their stomach. They're not having stomach aches, and going to be absorbed into the body, into the bloodstream quick. If you have too much fiber, it's going to slow down the digestion and absorption of that energy source. And then so what that looks like, cereals, breads, pasta, rice, wraps, they provide those energy sources that are also long lasting. So not only are carbohydrates, great in food forms, but in liquid calories, such as ready to drink shakes or homemade smoothies with frozen fruits, oats, a really good source to get the carbs in, that because it's blended up, it's already partially digested. So that really helps those athletes. It sits well and gets the energy into their system. Okay. So again, I like to say, what does this look like? Because I can say 15 grams of carbs and people are like, and that's fine because that's my job. What I want your athletes and you to know is what that looks like. So 15 grams looks like 1 orange, a third a cup of rice. That's 1 sweet potato, 6 saltine crackers, a half a banana, 15 grapes, quarter cup of granola, 1 slice of bread. It goes pretty quick, but that's what it kind of looks like. Okay, timing. So timing is key when it comes to nutrition. So you want to avoid consuming large meals or snacks too close to workouts. That's why we suggest eating your pregame meal about 3 to 4 hours before a game or a big training event, because digestion takes about that long for it to, empty the quality food, get the energy from it. So we like to say consuming smaller meals or snacks that are quicker in digestion 1 hour before practice, which will be beneficial because you'll still have that constant energy going, but it's not going to be your body using the energy to process that food. It's going to mainly be storing that energy for when you'll need it in the game or in the practice. Okay, so foods to avoid in pre-workout. There are a couple things, and there are reasons. So avoiding high fat foods. This is because they take longer to digest than carbs. So not only does it take longer itself, but it also slows down the digestion of those quick carbs we need. But it also can trigger digestive distress. So, feeling like your stomach is heavy, feeling like you're kind of sluggish. Well, it is because your food is sitting there because it's slowly digesting, which can potentially decrease your performance because, you're not feeling that great. And then also, my athletes all the time are like, protein, protein, protein. I have to get protein in everything and wherever. And this is very inaccurate because, for one, most of our athletes get enough protein in their daily needs, in their daily meals. But also, protein is the same way as fat, where it decreases the absorption, but it's also a weak energy source. So it doesn't have that quick energy like carbohydrates does. And if you have like large amounts of protein, you're going to get full quicker and you're not going to have as much energy from that portion of protein compared to if you had that portion, that volume of carbohydrates in your system. It is beneficial, most definitely, to do small amounts. We just don't want you slamming like a chicken breast 5 minutes before you go on the field. So small amounts, let's say you have an hour before a little bit of peanut butter on a bagel, a white bagel, or you put a little bit of nuts with your fruit. And it can be beneficial for the recovery process, but is not always super necessary. And then pre-workout hydration, critical. You want to be drinking all the time throughout the day. A lot of my athletes will be, oh, well, can't I just, catch up later? No, because if your body has a method to its madness, and you want to drink kind of loaded up slowly, because for one, if you drink too much at once, your stomach's going to hurt. Second, it's just going to go right through you. And so you want to consume plenty of water and sports drinks before, during, and after game time. Not all fluids are equal. Do we want soda? Probably not, even though, yes, those are simple sugars. You likely want to stay away from carbonated and really, really sugary drinks, as they can lead to stomach cramps and just upset your stomach. Sports drinks, Gatorade, Propel, any of those like waters with electrolytes and sugar in it are great to replace, so that like when you get to game time, you've got it in your system, but also drink during, so you can continue replacing the electrolytes being lost in your sweat, the carbohydrates, and fluids. So here are a couple ideas. Like I said, I don't like talking numbers too much to my athletes because that's my job. But looking in practical terms, 3 to 4 hours before a good meal, a grilled chicken breast, pasta with like marinara sauce, peas or corn. Those are more starchy vegetables, which that means it'll give you more carbs and water. And then bagel with low fat cream cheese and jelly. That's another good one. Emphasize on the low fat so that it's not as heavy on the system. All of these would vary athlete to athlete, and they'd have to test it out before. We never say do something for the first time before game. So before practice is the best way to test these out. And then 1 hour before, again, those quick carbs that are going to be absorbed, a banana or orange slices, some sort of fruit, sports drinks, great. Plain bagel, if you like plain bagels, I would put some jelly on it because it adds some carbs. Cereal, I love me some cereal, and or a snack bar. So here is something I'm going to have you guys guess. Maybe if you can do the chat, if not, put in the Q&A. So here's our first case study. So we have a 17-year-old male basketball high school athlete. So he often gets stomach upset during many of his games and workouts. after school, which starts at 3. His typical lunch or pre-workout meal is at 1:30 and consists of fast food meal and a drink that at one of the nearby restaurants. So any of these in the bottom right corner. So which of the reasons could be causing this issue? I'll give you like a minute. Anybody? All right. So I'll give a little bit longer. Whoops. I would say, okay. So a burger and fries, yes, because it's heavy on the stomach. Yes, it's a lot of carbs, but it's likely fried. So high fat. The protein is really heavy. Soda, carbonated soda, yes. Amount of timing of the meal, amount and timing of the meal. I'm sorry, I keep clicking it. Okay. Amount and timing of the meal. So amount, I'm not sure. Potentially burger and fries. I mean, in general, yes, because it is burger and fries. And then timing of the meal. So let's see. He's got training. Jeez, I keep doing that. He's got training at 3, so that he's got like an hour and 30 minutes. So yeah, eating a big meal like that an hour and 30 minutes before is a little rough. And then obviously we talked about fat content of the meal. So honestly, I would say all of them. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I don't know if 5 was supposed to be the answer, but I would say all. Yes. Okay. Yay, people actually got to put it in the chat. Awesome. It's working now. Okay. But yes, you guys were all right. 5, or Catherine, you said all. I'm right on there with you. Next. Okay. That was a trick question, we'll say. A 13-year-old female gymnast complains of low energy during her 3-hour gymnastics practice that occur Monday through Thursday. Her 24-hour dietary recall pre-workout reveals her typical daily intake below. What could she do to help improve her energy during practices? I'll give you a minute for this one. So she skips breakfast. She has grapes and carrots at lunch. Her after school snack is an 8-ounce glass of chocolate milk, and during practice, water. Okay, well, first off, I think we can all agree she's not eating enough. So she needs to get a quality breakfast in, a lunch that does not consist of just grapes and carrots. She needs some protein and carbs, a complete meal. Her snack, I think, should even have more carbohydrates. Milk has some carbs. And then during practice, she needs some Gatorade. It's over 3 hours. So she's going to be losing so much fluids and so many electrolytes. All right. So just to summarize, these are your action steps and just a review of what we talked about today. So the more time you have to eat before a workout, the more food you can safely consume. So it's better to eat a little bit earlier than later. So if you're like, oh, we have 4 hours before, should I wait an hour? No, just do it 4 hours, because then, you're not rushing towards the end, and you're not having, you're not getting too nervous towards the game or practice. Like I said, 3 to 4 hours before you can safely consume a regular meal, or 1 to 2 hours before a workout, choose a low fiber carbohydrate rich snack. And then lastly, a liquid option may be best, such as a ready to drink shake, smoothie, or sports drink, because it's already broken down. It's going to be quickly absorbed and it's going to get you those carbs and that hydration. All right. So I would welcome you all to scan this QR code to get a little bit more information after this presentation. I know I went over a couple things pretty quickly, but this is a great article just for some quick tips, even if you want to share with your teammates or your coaches or your players. This is a great resource. And then, of course, we got to end with a quote from the wonderful Venus Williams. Just believe in yourself, even if you don't, pretend that you do, and at some point you will. Essentially, just do the things and be confident, and you are going to be great. And these are the references. And then I will quickly answer a couple questions. I believe we have a couple minutes. Okay, so the first one, how would you counsel someone who is on a keto diet? First off, I'd be like, why are you on a keto diet? But I digress. In our profession, we will run into people who decide different types of diet practices. And specifically, I would go, is there a way that around your training or around your practice, we put in some carbs, because optimally you'll feel better. Or start off slowly, be like, why? Always be curious, ask questions. Why are you on a keto diet? What do you think it's helping your performance with? Get to the whole the carbohydrates are the most important part. Could we try this and see how you feel? It's really about just like building that rapport. And once you get the rapport, you can kind of be like, hey, so this is probably not ideal for your performance. Let's try something if you trust me. Again, all about the relationship, and then kind of honing in on, okay, let's try to get some carbs in you. Otherwise, I feel like the keto would be holding them back. I actually did my master's research was on keto diet in exercise performance. So I do have the data behind that. Next, what would you recommend before early workouts, 6 a.m. and the person usually eats at 8 hours, not hungry? Okay. I get the first part of that question, but I might need some clarification for the second. So quick in the morning, like 6 a.m., I really realistically, are they going to get up and make, a big breakfast? No. If they can eat a bar, a chewy granola bar, a Nutri-Grain bar, a smoothie, applesauce packet and some pretzels, something very simple, quick, as long as it's something. Yeah, it's not ideal. They're probably not going to wake up an hour before practice and go. I mean, ideally, yes, but it's just not practical. And they're not going to get them like a substantial meal. Breakfast is a little bit more difficult. And the person usually eats at 8 hours. I'm not sure if I understand that. Maybe if you could clarify. Okay, I answered your question. No worries, Catherine. Thank you for your question. And then the last question that I see, suggestions for breakfast for an athlete who is 13 years old, boy with celiacs. Really, really good question. Well, we do luckily have a lot of options for gluten-free individuals, but specifically rice-based stuff, you're not going to get that high protein, nutty, processed stuff that's in the gluten-free products. You're getting a gluten-free product that's natural. So like brown rice bread, or I'm sorry, rice bread, or gluten-free oats. A lot of, you could do a smoothie, very easy. You can get your fruit, your maybe some Greek yogurt in there, and then some gluten-free granola on top. You're getting those quality carbs, you're getting a little bit of protein, not a lot of heavy fat. I'm trying to think what else. Breakfast, cereals, rice-based cereals, checks, rice checks. And if like you have to get the plain ones, drizzle some honey on top. Tastes really, really good. Those are those quick carbs. And you should be good to go. I hope that answered that question. Oh, awesome. Good. Okay. I think that is all we have time for. Let me see. Oh, I had one more question. Thoughts on pre-workout supplements? I always am a food first individual. I don't believe that people need pre-workouts unless there's a specific situation, and they always must be NSF Informed for Sport certified. Because if they're not, they could likely be, I mean, they're not regulated. That's my opinion on the pre-workout supplements. I don't have any suggestions on those just because I don't suggest them. But I know that there are some dietitians out there and some research looking into that. But my action call on that is just make sure if you do one, it's NSF certified and safe for you. Okay, well, I think that is all. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful rest of your night. Thank you for joining.